Peter sat alone in the courtyard, the night air cold against his skin, the fire nearby offering little comfort. The sounds around him blurred into a distant murmur, soldiers talking, servants moving, footsteps echoing across stone. But his thoughts were fixed elsewhere, drawn again and again to the place where Jesus had been taken. Then a servant girl stepped closer, her voice cutting through the noise. "You also were with Jesus the Galilean." The words struck him harder than he expected. Peter felt the eyes of others turn toward him, felt the sudden weight of fear tighten his chest. And before he could stop himself, he spoke quickly, defensively. "I do not know what you are talking about." Even as the words left his mouth, something inside him recoiled. But he stood, distancing himself, moving toward the gate as if space itself could erase what he had just said. At the entrance, another servant noticed him and pointed him out to those nearby. This man was with Jesus of Nazareth. The accusation hung in the air, heavier now, louder, impossible to ignore. Peter's heart raced. This time his denial was sharper, more desperate. He swore an oath, as though binding his lie could make it true. "I do not know this man." The firelight flickered across his face, and for a brief moment he wondered if anyone could see the fear behind his eyes or the shame already beginning to take root. Not long after, those standing around approached him again. They had been listening, watching, comparing his words, his accent, his manner of speaking. "Surely you are one of them," they said. "Your speech gives you away." Panic overtook him. His voice rose, his words tumbling out in curses and vows, each one deeper than the last, as though burying the truth beneath layers of denial. "I do not know this man." And at that very moment, the sound broke through the night. A rooster crowed. The sound was simple, ordinary, and devastating. Peter froze. In that instant, the noise of the courtyard faded, and another voice filled his memory, calm and steady, spoken only hours before. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." The realization struck him with full force. 3 times. Exactly as Jesus had said. His strength gave way. He turned and left the courtyard, the weight of his failure pressing down on him until he could no longer hold it back. Alone in the darkness, Peter wept bitterly. What might his thoughts have been as the tears came? Perhaps his mind returned to the day he first left his nets, to the moment he declared with confidence that he would follow Jesus anywhere. Perhaps he remembered boasting that even if all others fell away, he never would. Now those words echoed back to him, hollow and cruel. He may have wondered how courage had abandoned him so completely, how fear had found its voice where faith had once lived. And perhaps, beneath the grief, there was a deeper pain still, the fear that what was broken could never be restored. Time passed. The days that followed were filled with silence, confusion, and loss. And when the weight became too heavy, Peter returned to what he knew before everything changed. "I am going fishing," he said. The others went with him. They worked through the night, casting their nets again and again, but caught nothing. The sea was quiet, indifferent to their efforts, and the emptiness of the nets seemed to mirror the emptiness they felt. As morning came, a figure stood on the shore. Though they did not recognize him, his voice carried across the water. "Children, do you have any food?" They answered simply, "No." Then he spoke again. "Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." They did as he said, and suddenly the net was so full they could hardly pull it in. In that moment, understanding dawned. the disciple whom Jesus loved turned to Peter and said, "It is the Lord." Peter did not hesitate. The same man who had once denied knowing Jesus now tied his outer garment around himself and threw himself into the sea. He swam toward the shore with urgency, driven not by confidence, but by longing. When they reached land, they saw a charcoal fire with fish laid on it and bread. The familiar scene, the warmth of the fire, the simple invitation to eat, it all carried a quiet grace. Jesus broke the bread and gave it to them, and none of them dared to ask who he was. They knew. After they had eaten, Jesus turned to Peter. His voice was gentle but direct. "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these?" Peter answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again he asked, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?" Again Peter replied, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And again Jesus spoke, "Tend my sheep." The third time, Jesus asked him the same question. Peter felt the familiar sting of sorrow rise within him. 3 questions, mirroring 3 denials. "Lord," he said, "you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus answered, "Feed my sheep." In those words, Peter was not reminded only of his failure, but of his calling. Jesus spoke of the path ahead, of a time when Peter would no longer go where he wished, of a future that would require the very courage he once lacked. And then, simply, Jesus said, "Follow me." The rooster's crow had once marked Peter's lowest moment, the night his faith seemed to collapse under fear. But now, standing before the risen Christ, Peter learned that failure was not the end of the story. Grace had found him by the fire, not to condemn him, but to restore him. And where tears once fell in the darkness, a new calling rose with the morning light.